booktube, it's Leah Cooper here, and wow, it's been a hot minute since I made a return to booktube. Like I said, I was going to 2 months ago, but today I'm bringing you. We're just gonna call this like my fall wrap up because it encompasses what very little I read in October and the month of November. So the last video I made, if you follow my channel, which thank you for you darling people who still do and comment, I love you. My last video was like a TBR for Spooktober. I was really excited about it. I was going to do some of the I was going to do all of the reading challenges, and I was even going to try to do some of the video challenges, at least one of them. I did none of that. I read one book in October. Well, 1.5 books, and then I got the flu. I get sick every year. I'll just admit that. I've got a niece and nephew who are in grade school, so germs galore. But this was so bad. Like, if you haven't gotten the flu yet and you haven't gotten a flu shot, maybe consider it if that's something that you can do. Because you really don't want the crap that's going around this year. It's so bad. So I got sick in the middle of November. At that point I had read one book. I was halfway through Dracula and really struggling with it, and then I got sick and it was so bad. Even if I'd been reading a book that I liked, I probably would not have been able to get a whole lot of reading done, and I was sick for like 2.5 weeks. So between October and November I read 7 books, which is not great. Anyways, let's get started talking about the books I read this fall. It was a mix of stuff that liked, didn't liked, etc. The first thing I finished, and this was the only thing I actually finished in October, was Timeless by Gail Carriger. This is the 5th and final book in the main series, or well, in the Parasol Protectorate, which is Carriger's first main series with steampunk, Victorian, werewolves, vampires, supernaturals, preternaturals, all sorts of stuff. I listened to this on audiobook, which I highly recommend if you're looking for a series to listen to on audiobook. The narrator for these is really great. I listened to books 4 and 5. Yeah, books 4 and 5 on audio, and really glad I did. So I've talked about I've been reading like this entire series for basically the last 12 months, and I really hated book 2. Really hated book 2. But book 3 was a big turnaround. I can't talk about the plot because it's the 5th book in a series. But basically, while I didn't guess what was going to happen, there were certain things I wanted to happen with like the characters, lots of characters, and many of them happened. And so like I was very happy with that. Like a lot of things were resolved in ways that either I had hoped they would resolve like that, or I just liked the way she took it. So it was great. I want to continue reading Gail Carriger. I just don't know what series I'm going to go with next. So I gave Timeless 4 stars, and overall I would recommend the series. I have coffee with a little bit of eggnog in it. I love eggnog. Okay, so the next thing I read was Dracula by Bram Stoker. This was a reread. This is kind of part of a unofficial ongoing project where in recommendation videos, I have a really bad habit of recommending things that I read as a young person that I have not read in 15, 20 years. Because like I'm 29 now, and a lot of these I read when I was quite young. So I have a habit of doing that, and it makes me uncomfortable doing that because like I have these really good memories of certain books, but I haven't, like, I'm such a different person, like not just growing up, like obviously as an adult you're a different person than you were as a child, but like philosophically I'm a very different person. And so I've been low-key trying to reread some of my favorite books to see what my opinion of them is now, so that my recommendation of them can be a little bit more firm, a little bit more informed. That's the word I'm looking for. So Dracula was the next one. Also, I have The Historian by, I can't remember her name, and I want to read that. And that is kind of like an unofficial sequel to Dracula, and I wanted to reread Dracula to refresh my memory before I jump into that. This used to be one of my favorite books. Like, I used to hold this up as a great example of a classic and a 5-star read. And wow, I gave it a 1 star. I fucking hated it. And it's not just that I got sick in the middle of reading it. I was hating it before I got sick because I was reading this for 2 weeks before I got sick. And then it took me like another, let me check. When did I finish this? I finished this on November 12th. So it took me almost another 2 weeks, or like roughly another 2 weeks to finish reading it. And that wasn't just like me being flaky and forgetting to read it. That was me actively trying to get this book read, but I hated it so much. So also I have this like awful mass market paperback. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's little. And I don't really like reading physical books, so I literally had to check this out from the library on an ebook so that I can have it on my laptop, just so that I could like force myself to read 5 pages here and there in between doing other things. It's easier for me to read on my laptop than in a standalone book, and I had to do that to get through this. It was so bad. I hated it. I hated so much about it. I gave it a 1 star. Did I say that already? I don't know. This was published in 1897, so like a lot of my criticism with it aren't going to be surprising. It's extremely misogynistic. It has a very dim view of women. Mina Harker is portrayed as in like a positive light, but that's only because she's like a paragon of women. like she has the mind of a man, even though it's trapped inside the futile womanly form. It's so garbage. I hated it. I hated it so much. Let me see if I think I highlighted some portions, and I love the fact that you can like view your highlights if you read on Kindle and your Kindle account is connected to like your Amazon. Well, obviously it's connected to your Amazon, but if you connect that to your Goodreads account, you can see your highlights. So let me pull that up real fast. See if I can get a real gem for you. I'm truly thankful that she is to be left out of our future work and even our deliberations. It is too great a strain for a woman to bear. I did not think so at first, but I know better now. Another one. This is, I think, Van Helsing talking. He have allowed us to redeem one soul already, and we go out as the old knights of the cross to redeem more. Like them, we shall travel towards the sunrise, and like them, if we fall in good cause. So there's like some glorification of the Crusades I did not need in a book. Here's another one. This is Mina talking about men. Because conversely, like if we take a very dim view of women, obviously we're going to just like put men on a pedestal, right? Oh, it did me good to see the way that these brave men worked. How can women help loving men when they are so earnest and so true and so brave? And too, it made me think of the wonderful power of money. Like, how is that a thing in a book? And like the thing about it is those are just one line, and you think, oh, okay, well, it was written in 1897. What do you expect, Leah? And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, 100%. But this is my edition is 400 pages, and it's 400 pages of just those sorts of things over and over and over and over and over and over again. Because we can't talk about like how men are so brave and noble and good and knightly on every other page, and we can't talk about how women are so frail, and Mina is just like a paragon of womanly virtue and so rare, especially in this day and age when women are starting to get ideas. That was something that showed up in this book. Literally every other page. The other thing, my other big criticism, besides the social shit, which is kind of to be expected in a old novel written by a dude, but like my other big criticism of this is it's just fucking boring. Like the writing is so repetitive. It's written in diary entries mostly, a few letters and a few like newspaper articles. And so like what will happen is like you're reading a diary entry, they'll tell you what happened, and then they'll all meet up together, like all the principal characters will meet up again together, and then someone will tell everyone else what already happened that they already told you, the reader. And so it's so fucking recursive and repetitive, and like you just have the same conversations happening over and over and over and over again. Oh, it's bad. It's also pretty racist. Not surprising again. Yeah, no. I'm actually getting rid of my copy of this because I don't want it. I spent way too much time on Dracula, but whatever. It was a real big fucking disappointment. So the next thing I read was a palate cleanser. It was a short story that I've already read, not this year, but I read it twice last year. And that is The Ruin of Gabriel Ashley by K.J. Charles. This is a 32-page short story prequel to her Society of Gentlemen's series, which is like Oh, I'm pretty sure it's Regency, a bunch of, like, a society of gentlemen dandies who are gay and keep one another's secrets, and there's a lot of politics in it and a lot of discussion of class. The Bruna Gabriel actually is a little short story addition to it. It's smutty. Like, it's basically just smut. It's a smut vehicle. And I just needed something fun and diverting to read after forcing myself to read Dracula. So I read that. Yeah. I gave it 4.5 stars again. After that, I started listening to, or well, during that, maybe, I was listening to Diriel by Garth Nix. This is the second book in the Abortion series, or is it called the Old Kingdom series? So it's the sequel to Sabriel, which probably somewhere around here, but I read Sabriel a year and a half ago. Wow, it was a year and a half ago. I really liked it. It came out in the mid-90s, if I remember correctly. It takes place in like an alternative our reality in the United Kingdom, where Scotland is a place called the Old Kingdom, and Hadrian's Wall effectively divides, and Celestier, which is modern day England, from the Old Kingdom, and cuts off, like, the Old Kingdom has a ton of magic that doesn't exist anywhere else outside of it. And there's this charter system which was created to contain magical forces and keep them in line and protect people, and to give a non-corruptive way of using magic. And there's a lot of necromancy, and one of the kind of tenets of the charter is a position called the Abortion, and that's someone who uses free magic and the charter to keep necromancers from harming people and to keep the greater dead in death. So there's a lot of stuff with necromancy and dead and demons and magic. And anyways, I really liked Sabriel. I gave it either a 4 or 5. Since it's from the 90s, I think it's a really good example of like early YA fiction before that was really a category per se. You more just had like older transitional fiction between middle grade and adult. I think the world building in it is exceptional, fascinating, and I love the fact that Garth Nix's writing style is not info-dumpy. Characters exist in a world in which they understand stuff, so they don't feel the need to explain it to one another again. Therefore, you as a reader have to put in some work to pay attention and figure stuff out, and I like that. So anyways, I listened to Lyrial. It was narrated by Tim Curry, which was a hoot. It takes place like 20 years after Sabriel. Sabriel is in it, but she's not the main character. Lyrial and one of Sabriel's children, Sameth, they're the two characters and the two principal point of view characters. They're great. I think both of them have really interesting struggles that are very, very different, but both very interesting. Lyrial is dealing with the fact that she's living with the Clare, which is another group that upholds the charter, but they do it through seeing the future, and she's waiting to develop. She should be able to get the gift. Like, she should wake up one morning with this gift to see the future and become a true member of the Clare, and it's not happening, and she's kind of aged out of when it should be happening. And so she's also an orphan, and she just really struggling with loneliness and trying to fit in and her place in the world and what to do. And then Sameth is dealing with the fact that he, as Sabriel's second child, is called and thought of as the Abortion in waiting, but he can't read the Book of the Dead. He's scared of going into death, and he doesn't feel like the Abortion in waiting, but he has all these expectations on him, and he's afraid because of those expectations and the fact that he cannot live up to them. And so, like, they're both dealing with, like, some really interesting stuff. There's a ton of extra side characters. I love Mogget from the first book. He's back. There's another free magic character called the Disreputable Dog in this, who is amazing. I fucking love the Disreputable Dog. Anyways, I love this series. It's kind of like a two-parter, and it falls in with not the next thing I read, but another thing I read, which was the third book, and that's Abortion. They're the first, like, Lyrial and Abortion need to be read together because they're basically part 1 and part 2 of the same overarching story. They're good. I gave Lyrial 4.5 stars. I gave Abortion 5 stars. This one just, like I said, continues continues the main plot, has all the same characters. Again, it's Lyriel and Sameth's story for the most part, and it's really good. The ending made me cry. I wish I'd read these as a kid. I think I would have liked them a lot. And I feel like I missed out not reading them. Frankly, this is going to be controversial, I like these more than Harry Potter. And I'm bringing that up because I feel like this is pretty contemporary of Harry Potter. Like, this one came out in 2003. Cyberreal came out in like the late 90s. And I think they're better. Sorry, not sorry. Like, they've got a lot of really cool world building. They're not info dumpy. They're not boring. Like, that's my biggest problem with like half the Harry Potter books. I find them boring. And I just find these way more interesting. And so I think if you're looking for another, here's the other thing. So if you're like looking for another series to pick up and you want some like young YA fantasy, seriously, check these out if you've never read them. Or if you're looking for like a series to give a tween to teen reader, seriously, I would highly suggest them. So I read those two. I also read The Oathbound by Mercedes Lackey. And this is complicated. So I picked up this and Oathbreakers for like $1 a piece, and they're in really good condition. Like, they're a little worn. They've obviously been read like once, but I think they sat on a shelf after they were read. So they're really good condition. And I've never read Mercedes Lackey, but she's kind of like, she's one of those kind of quintessential 80s, 90s fantasy authors. Yeah, this was published in 1988. She was the protege of Marion Zimmer Bradley, who I don't like. I'm sure you know why. I won't read Marion Zimmer Bradley, but I didn't remember that connection between them when I bought them, so I figured, well, I'll just keep these, I'll read them, see what I think, and I'll get rid of them. So I read this. This takes place in like, it's like sort of, I think it's set before her main Valdemar series. It also is a sequel to a short story that appears in a anthology that was put out by Marion Zimmer Bradley. Obviously, I'm not going to touch that. But for like the most part, I think you can read it as a standalone. You're not really lost. It's sort of told as a series of vignettes. It is about two women, mage and a warrior, who in this short story that doesn't appear in this book, they've been bound together by the warrior's goddess. And now they're sworn sisters, and they're going to try to rebuild one of their tribes. And so to do that, they need fame and a fortune. So they basically become hired mercenaries seeking fame and fortune. And so the book's told in a series of vignettes of them doing various jobs that eventually culminates in a big showdown at the end. I gave it 3 stars. I think it was okay. I think Mercedes Lackey's writing is pretty decent. Again, it's kind of sparse. It's not super expository, or at least it's expository in a way that doesn't bug me or bore me. I think it's pretty interesting. And I like the concept of like, hey, 2 warrior ladies going out and playing mercenary. However, there is so much implied and on the screen sexual assault in this book. Just so much. If you are a woman in this book and you're not the 2 protagonists, or even if you are the 2 protagonists, you're going to get raped. And more than that, you're going to die. If you're raped, you die. Literally the only people who survive being raped in this book are the 2 protagonists, who have both been raped prior to the start of the story and are raped in the course of the story. Every other woman character, female character, young or old, who is raped, and it's a lot of them, dies. And I don't like that message, because it is a message, because it happens to every single one of them. That is the fundamental lesson of this world. If you're a woman and you get into danger, you're going to be raped, and you're going to be raped to death. And I don't like that. I really don't like that, especially in what is supposed to be a very feminist piece of work. I think it's a very damaging and unhelpful and ham-fisted portrayal, and I don't like it. So yeah, that's why this got a 3-star. I just did not like that. I will read the sequel, Oathbreakers. I'll read it probably maybe this month. I don't know, but I'm not gonna be holding on to them because that part bugged me too much. What else did I read? Oh, the next thing I read, I already returned to the library, and that was Saga Volume 8. I'm really behind on Saga. Well, I'm 2 volumes behind on Saga. So this is Volume 8. It continues the story where the last one left off, I guess. I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty. It was entertaining. Some stuff happened. I don't know. Saga's like graphic novel volumes are one of those things where like they're so short that... And with Saga, I mean, like, they have 9 volumes out so far. Like, the story is kind of long and sprawling. I'm still reading it. I'm still interested in it. I've got 9 on hold at the library, but it's newer, so there's a lot of holds. I'll keep chugging along with it. That's a terrible review, but that's what it is. It is what it is. And that was it. That was everything I read. So, like, it was highs and lows. Dracula was a real fucking low. Lyriel and the Borson were a huge high. Just, I loved those 2 books. I'm like really excited to read more of them, but I'm not going to let myself, because I have to get them from the library, and I'm really trying to read things I already own this month. That's everything. This has been long and rambly. What can I say? That's on brand for me, basically, at this point. Thank you for watching. As always, if you enjoy hearing me ramble on like truly a random and diverse group of books, because I have no reading brand. I just read anything. Not anything. That's a lie, but all over the place. If you enjoy that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Comment. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you're thinking about picking them up. Let me know what you're reading this month. Let me know if you've saved anything special to read in December that you've really been looking forward to, or like because it was like wintry or whatever. And tell me what you've read recently that you really enjoyed. Especially if we've got something that's like not a new release, something that's from like the last 10-15 years. Let me know what that is down below, because I'm not really feeling the new releases right now. Not gonna lie. Anyways, that's all. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.